Today, we're tackling something that might sound simple, but its impact is huge. Celebrating our small wins.
Hmm.
We've been digging into a really interesting episode of the Growth Mode show, the one called Celebrating Our Own Small Wins.
That's right.
And our goal today is to, really get why acknowledging these, well, seemingly minor achievements isn't just nice, but actually
Hmm.
crucial for motivation, self-awareness, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny how much we're sort of geared towards the big, splashy accomplishments, isn't it?
Totally.
Like graduations, getting a promotion, those get all the attention. And
Yeah.
look, they are significant, absolutely. But there's this whole other landscape of smaller victories, things that often just fly under the radar,
Oh,
but they're the very things that build momentum in our lives.
okay.
So this deep dive will explore why these small wins matter so much. And, you might find recognizing them takes a different kind of focus, maybe even more than the big stuff sometimes.
Absolutely. I was thinking about my own walk, and there were a few moments, looking back now, that took a surprising amount of, well, effort,
Mm-hmm.
even though maybe they'd seem trivial to someone else,
Hmm.
like maybe finally making that doctor's appointment I'd been putting off,
Oh, yeah. Relatable.
or just sticking to my morning routine when I felt completely, out of sorts.
Right.
So we want you, the listener, to think about those moments in your day, those little hurdles you got over,
Yeah.
because understanding how to acknowledge them, it can really shift how you see your own progress.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's really get down to it.
Mm.
What exactly are these small wins we're talking about? Give us some examples.
Well, the growth mode episode gave some great ones, really relatable. Things like just managing to get out of bed and face the day when anxiety's really weighing you down.
Right.
Or finally hitting send on that email you've been actively avoiding.
Get in there.
Or making a conscious choice for self-care when you're feeling totally burnt out. Even something like managing a week-long break from social media, which can be surprisingly tough for some people. Or just waking up early to journal like you planned.
What really struck me listening to Maya and Leo on Growth Mode was that these aren't usually things that get, external applause, right?
Not usually, no.
Nobody's throwing a party because you took a social media break.
Probably not.
But, as they pointed out, these often take real inner strength, the self-awareness to even see the internal struggle,
That's it, self-awareness.
and then the discipline to actually follow through.
That's such a key point, the self-awareness bit. It's about being tuned in to your internal state,
Yeah.
right? And acknowledging the effort you put in, even if on the outside it looks simple.
Right.
What looks like just rolling out of bed to one person might actually be a huge act of will for someone else that day.
So true.
The perceived size of the win is just so personal.
Okay, so we're making these efforts, these small wins are happening. What's the problem if we just ignore them?
Yeah.
What's the downside of always looking ahead and missing what's right here?
Well, one of the big things, one immediate effect, can be feeling stuck, even when you are actually moving forward.
Interesting. Stuck even when moving.
Yeah, because we tend to fixate on the ultimate goal, right? That big thing way off in the distance.
Mhm.
And when we do that, we can totally overlook the steps we've already taken. It's like climbing a really long staircase, but only ever looking at the very top step.
Oh, okay.
You never acknowledge how many steps you've already climbed, and this can just breed this sense of constant dissatisfaction, feeling like you're never quite enough even when you're making good, steady progress.
Like that marathon example.
Yeah.
If you only celebrate finally crossing the finish line way down the road,
Right.
you miss all the positive boosts you could have gotten from finishing each training run, right?
Yeah.
Each little milestone along the way. And the Growth Mode hosts, they sort of hinted at this too, that by skipping those small celebrations, we're actually missing out on a really potent source of motivation.
Totally. It's fascinating, actually. The dopamine pathways in our brain, they get activated by even small acts of recognition.
The brain chemistry.
Yeah, it creates this positive feedback loop, basically.
Exactly.
It makes us more likely to repeat those effortful behaviors, even if the immediate reward feels kind of minor.
So if we ignore the small stuff,
We're essentially shutting down that natural reinforcement system. It's like turning off the tap for motivation fuel. And, as Maya mentioned on their show, celebrating these isn't about needing applause from others.
right, not about boasting.
No, it's a personal acknowledgement. It fuels your internal drive.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if these small wins are so good for us, why do we so often fail to notice them? or downplay them? What makes it so hard?
The Grace Mode episode hit on a couple of really key factors. One, which we sort of touched on, is the comparison trap.
Oh, yeah, the thief of joy.
Exactly. You see other people achieving what look like much bigger things, right? A friend launches a business. Someone online is traveling the world. And it's just so easy to dismiss your own effort. Like, oh, I just managed to tidy my desk. That's nothing compared to them.
Right.
But as Maya pointed out, maybe tidying that desk took immense mental energy for you on a day you felt totally overwhelmed.
That rings so true. It's so easy to fall down that rabbit hole comparing your insides to everyone else's outsides.
It really is.
And Leo also brought up perfectionism.
Mhm.
I think that's a huge one for a lot of
Oh, definitely. Huge roadblock.
this ingrained idea that unless we nail it, unless it's flawless,
Mhm.
100% perfect, it just doesn't count.
Precisely. That all or nothing thinking.
Mhm.
It can be incredibly damaging to motivation.
Yeah.
We tend to forget that progress usually isn't some dramatic leap. It's more often a series of smaller steps, sometimes even with a little stumble backward here and there.
Right. It's messy.
Yeah. And perfectionism just blinds us to the value in those smaller forward movements. And like Maya said, we can't always rely on someone else patting us on the back. Cultivating that internal sense of accomplishment, that's really key.
And this connects really well with consistency, doesn't it? Which was another important point Maya and Leo discussed. How do these small wins actually help build consistent habits?
Well, what's fascinating is that these small wins are often the first, visible signs of consistent effort paying off.
Okay.
Think about Leo's example, sticking to a journaling practice for just a few days in a row, even when his default is hitting snooze.
Right. That initial push.
That single act of journaling might seem small, but it represents a real conscious effort, doesn't it? To break an old pattern and start building a new one.
Right. It's the repetition. It's showing up, even when it's just a little bit.
Exactly. It's showing up for yourself. And the folks at Growth Mode really emphasize that significant, lasting change. It rarely happens overnight.
No quick fixes.
Pretty much. It's the buildup, the accumulation of these smaller, consistent efforts that eventually leads to those bigger transformations we're often aiming for.
It's like compounding interest, but for effort.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly. It's the power of compounding in action. Each small win is like making a tiny deposit into your bank of self-belief and motivation.
Nice.
And over time, those seemingly tiny deposits, they add up to something really substantial.
Okay, this is great. So let's get practical. How can listeners actually start doing this, integrating this practice of celebrating small wins? What are some concrete things they can try?
Okay, yeah, practical steps. Growth Mode offered some really good, actionable ideas.
Good.
One of the simplest, but maybe most powerful, verbal affirmation.
Just saying it out loud?
Yeah, actually saying, I'm proud of myself for doing this today, or that took effort and I did it. It might feel a little weird at
A
first.
bit awkward, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But vocalizing it makes it more tangible, more real somehow.
I can see that.
Right.
Acknowledging it to yourself, properly.
Right. Without minimizing it or immediately jumping to what you didn't do, just acknowledging the effort, it can be surprisingly potent.
Okay. What else?
Another strategy they mentioned was documentation.
Writing it down?
Yeah, could be super simple. A quick note in a journal like, got out for that walk, or an entry on your phone, or even just sharing your small win with a trusted friend or partner, someone who gets it.
Okay, sharing it. That makes sense, too. And Maya and Leo also talked about self-reward, didn't they?
They did. And this is important. It doesn't have to be anything huge or expensive, not at all.
Right. Not like buying yourself a car for sending an email.
Huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more about intentionally acknowledging your effort with something you genuinely enjoy.
Like what?
Oh, maybe just really savoring a cup of your favorite tea, but really savoring it, no distractions. Or taking 5 minutes for a quick walk outside. Listening to one song that really lifts your spirits.
Okay.
Or even just allowing yourself a few minutes to watch a funny video online. The point is, it's a conscious act, a way of marking the accomplishment for yourself.
I like that. Conscious marking. What about reflection?
Yeah, that's crucial too. Actually, pausing for a moment, thinking about how that small win made you feel. What did it take internally to make it happen? That kind of reflection can really deepen your understanding of your own resilience, your capabilities. It's not just a superficial pat on the back, It's about internalizing the positive experience, learning from it.
And Leo also mentioned sharing wins with others.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for validation, but
Yeah, more as a way to connect and maybe even inspire someone else. You honestly never know who might be facing a similar struggle.
sure.
And hearing about your seemingly small victory could actually give them a little boost, some encouragement.
That's a nice thought. Community aspect.
And I really liked the wins jar idea that Leo described.
Oh, yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it's basically creating a physical jar or even just a digital note or document. And whenever you have a win, big or small, you jot it down on a slip of paper or type it in. And then, periodically, especially maybe on days when you're feeling a bit down or discouraged, you can look back through your jar, read those slips.
Ah, like tangible proof of progress.
Exactly. It's a really powerful visual reminder of your ongoing progress, your efforts, your resilience, even when it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
That sounds really effective, actually.
Hmm.
So ultimately, it seems like it boils down to, well, shifting how we see things. Yeah.
Hmm.
Reframing our perspective. So we're actively looking for and actually valuing
Yeah.
those moments of forward movement
Yeah.
instead of only focusing on reaching some distant, often kind of elusive finish line.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating a mindset that really celebrates progress over perfection.
Progress over perfection. I like that.
Recognizing that every single small step you take in the direction you want to go, it has value. It contributes to the bigger picture. And this really brings us right back to you, our listener.
Yes, you. Think for just a second about an effort you've made recently. Something that required maybe a bit of personal strength or intention or just that little extra push.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like it was a tiny, tiny thing. We really want to drive this home. Those seemingly invisible steps,
Hmm.
they are incredibly important.
They really are. They're the fundamental building blocks. Your growth, your journey, it's built on those.
And actively acknowledging them, like we've been discussing, it isn't just some fluffy feel-good exercise.
Not at all. It's actually a fundamental part of sustaining your motivation, especially over the long haul, and cultivating that strong sense of self-belief.
So just to quickly recap, maybe the key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Let's do it.
Okay, first, small wins are genuinely significant. They might look minor, but they often represent real challenges overcome. And they're absolutely vital for building momentum and self-belief.
Crucial. And second, overlooking them, constantly looking ahead. That can actually hurt our motivation. It stops us from seeing the progress we're already making.
Right. And third, thankfully, there are real practical things we can all do to get better at this,
Yeah.
to build that habit of celebration.
Yeah, simple things. Acknowledging it out loud, writing it down, that wins jar idea.
Using reflection, maybe a small self-reward, tangible strategies.
Exactly. Tools you can use right away.
Okay. So, as you go about your day after listening to this, we want to leave you with this final thought.
Yeah.
Take a moment, maybe later today, maybe right now. Really consider the small acts of effort you've made recently, maybe even just in the last few hours.
Yeah, just one.
And just allow yourself to acknowledge one of them. No judgment, no minimizing, just
Yeah.
notice it. And ask yourself, how does recognizing that seemingly small step shift your perspective, even just a little bit, on your path right now?
It's often in those quiet moments, those little internal nods of recognition, that the seeds of real growth, they take root and they start to flourish.